Welcome to another session of Maths Fanatics 24/7. On this question, we're going to be looking at probability, the fundamental counting principle. Okay, so they say a 3-digit number is made up of using, so they want to make what? A 3-digit number. Ne? So that number must have 3 digits, okay? Is made up by using 3 randomly selected digits from 0 to 9. Okay, so we're in a pool. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5, 6, 7, 8, then 9, because they said 0 to 9. Perfect. Then they say digits may not be repeated. Okay, let me just give you an example of what we are trying to do here. Okay, so let's say I have this. I can have 2, 4, 5. I can have 2, 3, 4. I can have 7, 8, 9, as long as it's 3-digit code. But I cannot have 0, 1, 1. Why? Because they say digits may not be repeated. So 1 cannot appear twice in this code. It can, every digit inside this pool can only appear once. Can only appear once. So now I'll show you something before we start with the questions. Now I just want to analyze the question first so that it makes more sense. Okay, so let's say I have 1, 2, 3. I'm sure we all agree that when I start, I have 10 possible options to pick. I can pick a 9 and put here. I can pick an 8. I can pick a 2, a 4. Remember, I'm randomly selecting, so I can pick any. So I have 10 options, right? But after I pick one of the numbers, the options are decreasing. Why? Because that number that has been selected cannot be selected again since the digit may not be repeated. For example, if I pick 1, I cannot pick 1 again here and there. So I have 9 options now. So 9 and then 8. So here I was trying to show you that the first part, you have the total number of options as the total number of items you have. So in this case, I have 10 digits. For the first position, I have 10 possible options, right? But because repetitions are not allowed, my options are decreasing. They always decrease by 1. So here it will be 1 less, then 1 less. But if repetitions were allowed, the options were always going to be the same, right? Awesome. So that's what I wanted you to have in your brains, right? So now we can go to the questions, okay? So I'm going to just erase this part, and then we can start with the question. Okay, so now on the question, they say we need to determine the total number of possible 3-digit numbers that can be greater than 100. So the digits must be greater than 100. Okay, so guys, obviously there's a restriction here. So where there's a restriction, I always put a dot. My restriction will be there. For it to be greater than 100, I must either start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, right? But I cannot start with 0 because if it's 0, it's going to be less than. So where there's a restriction, we leave it. You always fill up this part. Remember, this part, you have 10 options if there were no restrictions. So you're going to have 10 options. Here you have 9. And then here you're going to have 8 because they are reducing since repetitions are not allowed. And then now I'm going to check the restriction, right? They say here I have what? I must have a number that is bigger than 100. So 0 is out. Did you see it? So I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 options here to pick from. The restriction, you always do it at the end. You always put in the ones that do not have restrictions. Okay. And then we're going to multiply those numbers together. How much will this be? Let's check on a calculator quickly. So we have 9 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 8, giving us 648. So the answer is 648 possible 3-digit codes that are going to be bigger than 100. And then we're done with this question. Okay, let's go to this one now. This one. Okay, here they want us to determine the total number of possible 3 digits. Okay, 1, 2, 3 digits that are both even. So it must be an even number and be greater than 600. So here we have 2 restrictions. The first restriction, it must be an even number. Remember, even numbers, we check how they end, right? For example, a number ending with 5 cannot be even, but a number ending with 4, 6, 0 can be even, and is indeed even. So remember, I put dots where I have restriction. I have a restriction here because they say it must be bigger than 600, which means it must start with 600, which means it must start with 6, 7, 8, or 9. Then it must be even, which means it must end with 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Sharp. Now I'll show you something. Here, the options that I have, I can start with a 6, can start with a 7, can start with a 8, then 9, right? Here I can start with a 6, a 4. Remember, I'm picking up from the pool. And then I can have an 8, a 2, or a 0, right? Remember, I said the part that do not have a restriction, you just always fill it first. So here I know that I'm going to have, okay, 2 options are out. This option and that one is out. So I'm left with 8 options then. Do we get it? So there will be 8. Perfect. And then now another issue that we have is this. They said the repetitions may not be occurring. So if I'm starting with a 6, I cannot end with a 6, right? If I'm starting with a 8, if I'm starting with a 8, I cannot end with an 8, right? So because 6 can be used twice, I'm going to separate it. And also because 8 can be used twice, I'm going to do this question in separate. Sharp. Now, the first case is if I'm starting with a 6, right? Let's say I'm starting with a 6 here. So obviously there I cannot have a 6, right? So I'm going to have one option here, which is this 6, right? And then because here I cannot have a 6, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 options, right? Then remember this one was 8 because there was no restriction. Then these are the possible combination that I'm going to have if I'm starting with a 6. And then let's do when I'm starting with an 8. Remember this one in the middle is the same. If I'm starting with the 8, I can, okay, let me erase that part of 6 so that you don't get confused. So this part is not there, that part is no longer there. Sharp. So if I'm starting with an 8, I cannot end with an 8 because repetitions are not allowed, right? So I'm starting with an 8, which is one option. So how many options will I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, still 4. Perfect. Now I've started with a 6 and an 8. The 2 options that are remaining are 7 and 9. So this is what we're going to do. So let's see here. Where's my pen? Sharp. My pen is there. So here, this is what is going to happen now. 7 and 9, I can start with it, any of them, right? Because they're not going to be used twice at the end, and in the beginning, I can take them at the same time. So if I take a 7 or a 9, which are 2 options, remember here it's always 8, that one. The end, I have how many options to pick from? I have 5 options. Then you multiply everything, and then you add, and that should be your final answer. Let's see how much is it gonna be. So I have 1 times 8 times 4, then plus this plus, I'm gonna add this one now. 1 times 8 times 4 plus 2 times 8 times 5. That gives me 144. So here I get 144. And this is also finito. Ladies and gentlemen, if you found this video really helpful, please don't forget to recommend this channel to your friends and family. I hope you're going to have a great year and I wish you all the best. A luta continua. Thank you.